Liverpool have made an approach to sign Alexander Isak, and this changes everything for Liverpool going into next season. If they were to sign what is surely the most prolific and exciting striker in all of Europe, alongside the likes of Harry Kane, Lewandowski and Erling Haaland, we're talking top 4, top 5 forwards in world football, already joining Mohamed Salah at Liverpool. This transfer would be absolutely outrageous, and it's not outside of the realms of possibility based on the FSG model, based on the lack of spend from Liverpool last summer, and of course what they've already done this summer in terms of signing Florian Wirtz for a massive club record fee. This is very juicy, very, very exciting for Liverpool, and of course terrifying for European giants. If we're talking chasing the Premier League next season, and of course the Champions League. Make sure you subscribe if you're brand new. We're going to talk about the transfer and other repercussions throughout Liverpool's transfer activity this summer. My initial overview of this deal is that it makes a lot of sense. Alexander Isak is a fluid, aggressive striker, left winger, and when I say fluid, I mean that he can play in a range of positions. He can operate in a different set of modes of play as a footballer. He can be just a finisher. He can be someone that drives in from the left-hand side. He can drop deep to link up play. And Liverpool, whether it's Jurgen Klopp or Arne Slot in the last few years, love forwards that can play in a multitude of positions. You get the most value out of them and can interchange with, obviously, Mohamed Salah, who is Liverpool's best player at the moment. So ultimately, Isak he's not just a ruthless number 9 like Erling Haaland. He's someone that can float about and link up play. I think that's why Florian Wirtz was signed as well. Someone that can play in a multitude of positions. We could see Florian Wirtz as a false 9. We could see Florian Wirtz as a left winger. Isak as a left winger. Isak as a number 9. It's very, very scary for the rest of the Premier League. His goal record last season, 23 league goals, 6 assists, 62 goals and 109 appearances for a Newcastle side that weren't always as good as this. Isak came in a few years ago for a massive fee to Newcastle United, and he has been, I think, arguably as important to them as Alan Shearer, David Ginola, Andy Cole in the 90s. I'm trying to think of other players in the last sort of 10 to 15 years. Colaccini maybe, Gutierrez. I mean, they're not massive names, some of them. He's right up there in the pantheon of greats for Newcastle United. We're talking ever. Because of the goal record, and obviously a very big goal in a League Cup final against Liverpool last season, where they hadn't won a trophy in close to 100 years. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous, and Isak was the main man on the day, a lethal finisher. If he's linking up with Salah, he stays fit, we're talking 40 goals in all competitions at a bare minimum. It's terrifying stuff. You have to say his injury record at Newcastle United, not great, and he's still getting 1 and 2. And you're thinking, 25 years old, if you can iron out some of those deficiencies in injuries, or maybe a little bit of misfortune when it comes to injuries, if he stays fit for 90% of Liverpool's games the next 3 or 4 years, if he were to sign this summer, you're looking at an outrageous return, because he is one of the most naturally gifted finishers. He can create goals by himself. He really can. He's not just relying on things to come into the box, because when they do, if they do, with the likes of Wirtz supplying him, Salah supplying him, Gakpo supplying him, he's going to bury those himself anyway, but he can create his own chances off the left. He's got a little bit of the Gareth Bale about him, a little bit of the Thierry Henry when he was a left winger, a little bit of the Cristiano Ronaldo about him. I'm not saying he's of that caliber yet, but he's approaching borderline world-class standards already for a side like Newcastle United, who weren't even in the Champions League last season. The fee, let's talk about that. Leave your comments down below. £120 million. Now, I've been saying this on the channel for a few videos when I talk about Liverpool's transfer activity. If they spent 120 million quid this summer on Isak, and then they got another striker next summer for 120 million pounds, that's just 240 million pounds. That's just, it's rolling on. And it's a bit like Chelsea. They spend hundreds of millions of pounds, and they do it again and again and again. And whatever you say about Liverpool's transfer activity this summer, it's all been at a discounted rate because of the lack of transfer activity last summer. These guys spent less money than Birmingham City, who were in League One last season. So they had the kind of the ability to spend big money on a couple of marquee signings, get a couple of new fullbacks. Maybe someone like Mark Gahey comes in as well, alongside Florian Wirtz. And obviously Mamadashvili comes in as well. If you sell a couple of players and the discount from last summer as well, suddenly it all kind of looks like it's balanced in the books, which is outrageous. And it's a massive testament to Arne Slot that he can win a Premier League title, put Liverpool in a massive position, obviously gets them back into the Champions League, push them for the Champions League positions again. And he's done that all with a squad that was inherited, and he had to readjust Gravenberch and get the most out of Curtis Jones and etc., etc. Now he's actually building a side that he wants. I think Isak will play very well in the Arne Slot system. I think he's very suited to link-up play. He's got a very subtle touch about him. You can see him dropping deep and interplay with McAllister and Gravenberch, and he can be more than just a finisher. He could be linking up play. He's a little bit more silky than the likes of Erling Haaland. Or maybe even Victor Gyökeres if he joins Arsenal. I mean, Isak is a total footballer on some level, and a very, very silky and aesthetic one as well. There is obviously some context around Ekitike joining Newcastle United, a bid rejected from Newcastle United to Eintracht Frankfurt. So Liverpool are testing the water that if they bid big for Isak, maybe get the player to cause some unrest and suggest that he wants to leave to Newcastle United, potentially that could happen, then Ekitike maybe happens for Newcastle United, and it becomes a manoeuvring tactic for Liverpool to move one of these players towards the club. Ekitike, I'll have to do a separate video on him. Let's be real, I'm going to spoil it. I think he'd be a great signing for Liverpool as well. I think he fits the mould, and he's a very similar kind of profile to Isak in a number of ways. Very mobile, agile, very composed finisher, just like Isak. But ultimately you want Alexander Isak, and it's the kind of deal that I could see getting done. There is obviously that kind of idea that Newcastle have kept a lot of their talent. Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, big players have stayed at Newcastle United for many years now. It's tough. If Isak has got a couple of years left on his contract, he's 25. You can get £120 million. He's got a couple of little injuries. Ekitike comes in. You can get another player. Then you balance the books. It might not be the worst deal in the world for Newcastle United. Plus, you're not getting that money from other clubs. Liverpool probably the only club in the world that can pay that at the moment, that want to pay it. Maybe Barcelona. I don't think they want Isak. Man City don't want Isak. You know, there's not many clubs that can actually afford to buy Isak and get the most out of the deal. If Liverpool can make a move because Ekitike is going to Newcastle, it makes a lot of sense. It also makes a lot of sense if you look at Liverpool's books. They're selling Nunes to Napoli. He looks like a Napoli player. I mean, let's be real. Let's say they get 40 million, 50 million for him. Diaz, 50 million, 60 million. They just rejected a bid from Bayern Munich today for 55. So let's say 70 million, 75 million. That pays for it. Nunes and I'd sell Nunes and Diaz for Isak in a heartbeat. And then you keep Harvey Elliott at all costs to have him in the front three as a backup option. Maybe you bring in another cheaper player. I think Chiesa is a little bit surplus to requirements. Gakpo's still there, criminally underrated by football fans. He'll be in that front three with Isak, in my opinion. It'll be Isak, Salah, and Gakpo. And suddenly that front three, even though it's a little bit less, has less depth in terms of having Diaz and Nunes in and around there. It's the kind of front three that takes Liverpool on in a big way. Salah as well. It's not just about linking up with Salah. It would create one of the most devastating front threes in world football. But it's also, you have to think long term. And FSG have done this chronically throughout their time at Liverpool, thinking long term, signing players in that 25 kind of the Goldilocks years, where ultimately Salah came. He wasn't too young, wasn't too old, and they've got the most out of him. 7, 8, 9 years at the highest level. Mane, Van Dijk, Alisson, all very similar. At 25, he can be the Salah replacement. It takes a little bit of pressure off Wirtz as well, which I like. This would be a devastating transfer for Liverpool to make. It would take them 5-10% closer to being massive favourites to winning the Premier League, in my opinion. If you already think they're strong favourites, it makes them stronger favourites to win the Premier League. It's outstanding business, and it's outstanding if for whatever reason it falls through and Ekitike comes to Liverpool as well, because for some reason Ekitike looks like a very similar profile player to Isak. He could also do a job for Liverpool as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments down below if you agree with my shout about Isak joining Liverpool. I think it would be an A++ transfer. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll see you very soon.